Imagine standing in the blistering Afghan desert, radios hissing with static, men crouched low behind broken walls as bullets kicked up dirt inches from their helmets. And in the chaos, a SEAL commander lifted his head just long enough to see something that made him freeze. High on a ridge, silhouetted against the fading sun, was a lone figure with a Barrett .50 caliber rifle balanced steady as a rock. A woman whose calm, cold stare through the scope looked like she wasn't just aiming at a target. She was aiming at history itself, and that's when the men whispered, almost afraid to break the silence, "Who's she aiming at?" Because none of them believed what they were seeing. None of them thought this was real. A female sniper holding steady while the battlefield spun into chaos. And yet here she was, Alexandra Pierce, codename Whisper. The woman whose legendary 3,047-meter kill record was passed around special forces camps like a ghost story. Except it wasn't fiction, it was a fact etched in blood and steel. But before we go deeper into how one woman stunned SEAL teams and silenced enemies with impossible shots, let me ask you, if you love stories of courage, grit, and jaw-dropping twists that no one sees coming, then smash that subscribe button now, because what you're about to hear isn't just a war story. It's a story about betrayal, redemption, and a sniper who rewrote the rules of modern combat. Whisper wasn't born a soldier, she was forged into one. Growing up in Virginia, the daughter of a Navy engineer and a combat medic, Alex was quiet, intense, and frighteningly focused. By age 15, she was dismantling rifles blindfolded. By 16, she was out shooting Marines at the range. And by 21, she had graduated Annapolis top of her class. Still, when she joined the Navy SEAL sniper training program, many men laughed behind her back, whispering she'd never make it through the hell of Bud S. But what they didn't know was that Alex thrived on being underestimated. And every insult, every doubting glance only sharpened her resolve. She survived drown-proofing drills longer than half her male classmates, ran obstacle courses with fractured ribs, and when her hands bled raw from endless push-ups on cold sand, she smiled through the pain. By the time she finished training, the nickname Whisper was born. Not because she talked softly, but because she moved like wind, silent, invisible, and deadly. But Whisper's story truly began the day she was flown into Helmand Province on a mission that even hardened SEALs believed was suicide. The helicopter blades whipped sand across the landing zone as the SEAL team crouched low, weapons ready, their commander barking orders through the headset. But even he kept glancing at Whisper as though trying to make sense of why this lone sniper, barely 5'7", slim and quiet, had been assigned to an operation so dangerous most men considered it a one-way ticket. The mission was clear. A high-value insurgent leader had entrenched himself deep inside a village, surrounded by dozens of fighters with RPGs and heavy machine guns, locking down every approach. And intel warned that the enemy was moving crates possibly filled with chemical weapons, stolen from a black market shipment. The SEALs were to breach, neutralize, and recover any material, but their entry points were suicide runs, which was why Whisper had been brought in. Her job wasn't just to cover the team, her job was to break open the battlefield from nearly 2 miles away. As the squad moved into the darkened ruins, gunfire erupted instantly. The air buzzing with rounds snapping past ears, dust plumes erupting inches from faces. And that's when Whisper dropped prone on a rocky ridge, unfolded the Barrett M82A1, and through her scope she saw the world differently. Every flicker of muzzle flash, every glint of metal, every hostile shift of shadow became a heartbeat waiting to stop. Her breathing slowed. Inhale, hold, exhale, and the first shot cracked like thunder. A machine gun nest that had pinned the squad suddenly went silent, its crew collapsing before they even knew they were targeted. The SEAL commander blinked, muttering into his comm, "One down." But before he could finish, Whisper's second shot punched through a distant window, dropping a spotter lining up an RPG. Within minutes, the battlefield that had seemed impossible tilted in favor of the Americans. and the SEALs advanced under the ghostly shield of an unseen angel. Yet something gnawed at Whisper. The target building was too quiet, too calculated. Through her scope, she studied the village square and noticed children, women, even old men, being herded into courtyards by armed guards, human shields deliberately placed to freeze Western forces from striking. Whisper's jaw tightened. She'd seen this tactic before, and it told her something darker. The insurgent leader wasn't just hiding, he was waiting, daring them to breach so he could trigger whatever hellish plan those crates contained. Whisper whispered into the comm, voice calm as ice. "Commander, pull your men back. They want you boxed in." But the commander, adrenaline blazing, snapped back. "That's not your call, sniper. Do your job." For a moment, Whisper considered arguing, but years of discipline locked her tongue. Instead, she refocused through her scope, scanning rooftops until her heart stilled. The enemy leader wasn't in the building at all. He was escaping, moving fast, half a mile beyond the village, loaded into a black pickup weaving through the dunes. Whisper's gut screamed, if he got away with those crates, entire cities could burn. She shifted her aim, calculated distance, wind speed, bullet drop, the Earth's curve at that range. The number seared her brain, 3,047 meters. No one would believe it. No one had even tried it in live combat. But Whisper wasn't thinking of glory. She was thinking of the children in those courtyards, of chemical plumes rising over villages, of her mother who had once held dying Marines in her arms. She whispered again, almost to herself, "Target acquired," and pulled the trigger. The Barrett roared, the earth trembled, and 3 full seconds later, an eternity in battle. The windshield of the fleeing truck shattered. The driver slumped, and the vehicle careened into the sand. Smoke curling up as the insurgent leader's men scattered in panic. Silence fell on the comms. Then the SEAL commander's voice cracked, equal parts disbelief and awe. "What the hell? Who's she aiming at? Did she just—" But Whisper didn't reply. Her eyes stayed locked on the scope because she saw something the others didn't. The crates in the back of the truck weren't chemical weapons at all. They were decoys. The real cargo was still hidden in the village, and by firing the shot, she had just revealed her position to snipers waiting for her. A glint of light flashed in her scope, counter-sniper fire. She rolled an instant before a round slammed into the rock where her head had been, shards cutting her cheek. It was a trap all along, a layered deception, and Whisper realized in that breathless second that someone had fed her unit false intel. The question was, who and why? The crack of that counter-sniper round still echoed in Whisper's ears as she slid down behind jagged stone. Her Barrett hugged tight to her chest, dust and gravel filling her lungs, while another bullet chewed the ridge inches from her shoulder. And in that instant, she knew this wasn't some random insurgent getting lucky. This was precise. Professional fire, a rival sniper who had been waiting, someone who knew she'd take that impossible shot at the fleeing truck. She whispered into her comms, low and urgent, "Sniper, West Ridge." 8 o'clock high, but the SEAL commander cursed back. "Negative, we've got movement everywhere. We're pinned, we need you on overwatch." The radio hissed with overlapping shouts, gunfire blasting so close it drowned out thought. And Whisper realized the team didn't understand. The mission wasn't compromised. It was engineered. Every piece of intel, every setup, had been a lie designed to drag them into a kill box. She pressed her cheek to the scope, scanning the West Ridge. And then she froze, because what she saw chilled her deeper than the Afghan night. The sniper taking aim at her wasn't wearing local garb or insurgent patches. He was in Western tactical gear, American gear, the kind issued to NATO forces. Her mind recoiled, searching for another explanation, but there was none. Someone inside the Allied network had sold them out, and that sniper wasn't fighting for country. He was fighting for whoever had paid the blood money. A new round cracked, stone splintered, Whisper rolled and countered with a shot of her own, sending dust erupting where the enemy's muzzle flash had glared. But she knew the distance and angle gave him the edge. He wasn't just testing her aim, he was hunting her, deliberately trying to stretch her focus while the SEALs were drowning in fire below. Through the comms, she heard screams. "Man down, we're taking fire from 3 angles." And the commander's voice, desperate now. "Whisper, if you got anything left, use it." She clenched her teeth, shifted her aim back to the village, and saw the truth. The crates weren't in the truck. They were being loaded underground, into tunnels that led who knew where, and guarding them wasn't ragtag fighters but mercenaries. Western trained, their formation too clean, their movements too precise. This wasn't a warlord's gang. It was a private army, running a black market deal under the cover of chaos. Her pulse pounded. If they succeeded, the weapons could vanish across borders, leaving the US to take the blame for civilian deaths. She had to act, but every time she tried to line up, the counter-sniper fired, driving her deeper into cover. Sweat burned her eyes, blood dripped from the cut on her cheek, and then something snapped in her. Discipline turned into raw instinct. She remembered her father's words. "Engineers don't win by force. They win by angles." And with trembling fingers she adjusted her position, used the reflection of a shattered car mirror near her, and sighted him not directly, but through the bounce of light. The mercenary sniper leaned for another shot, confident she was pinned, and that's when Whisper fired. Her Barrett's recoiled, slamming her shoulder as the bullet found his chest, dropping him lifeless down the rocks. For one heartbeat the ridge fell silent. Then the battlefield roared back louder than before, RPGs lighting the night sky, children crying from courtyards, the SEALs screaming into the comm for extraction. The commander's voice cracked. "We're not going to make it unless you burn them down, Whisper." But Whisper's mind was racing. If she opened fire on the tunnels, civilians above could die, and if she didn't, those weapons would escape and thousands elsewhere could pay. For the first time in her career, she hesitated, finger trembling on the trigger, because she knew there was something rotten beyond this mission, a betrayal bigger than one firefight. And then, amid the chaos, a second voice came through her comm channel, low, calm, and chillingly familiar. "Stand down, Whisper. That's an order." She froze because it wasn't her commander. It was a voice from Washington, a high-ranking official she'd once briefed in a secure room months before. A man who wasn't supposed to be anywhere near this operation. Her gut twisted as the truth slammed her. This entire mission had been orchestrated by someone inside her own government, and she had just been a pawn in a much larger game. Whisper's breath caught in her throat as that cold, commanding voice slithered through her comms, ordering her to stand down. And in that instant, she knew without doubt that the corruption reached higher than anyone in her squad could imagine, that the firefight below, the crates, the mercenaries, it was all a cover for powerful men moving pieces like a chessboard, and she was the piece they thought they could sacrifice. But Alexandra Pierce had never been a pawn, and with one calm inhale, she made her choice. She switched frequencies, cut the shadowy voice out of her ear, and whispered to the SEAL commander, "Eyes on the tunnels. Marking targets." The commander didn't argue this time. He trusted her now. One after another, her Barrett thundered, rounds, collapsing entrances, collapsing escape routes, collapsing lies, until the mercenaries scattered and the crates vanished beneath rock and dust. Extraction birds roared overhead, SEALs hauling civilians to safety, and Whisper climbed down the ridge with blood on her cheek and fire in her eyes. The commander stared at her like he was seeing something not quite human, muttering, "Who's she aiming at? Enemies or the people who sent us here?" She didn't answer, because some truths were too dangerous to speak in open air. Weeks later, back in Virginia, a classified report tried to bury her record, erase her shot, reduce her to a footnote, but the men who had fought beside her knew, and word spread in whispers about the female sniper who made an impossible kill, about how she had turned a battlefield upside down, about how she had stared down betrayal and still carried her rifle like a storm. They called her Whisper because she never needed to shout, because her legend would speak for her. And as for the powerful men who thought they could control her, they learned the hardest truth of all, that when Alexandra Pierce aims, she never misses.
I just want to take a moment to say a huge thank you to each and every one of you. Folded hands, your love, support, likes, comments, and subscriptions mean the world to me. Without you, this journey wouldn't be possible. Every view, every share, and every encouraging word keeps me motivated to create more content for you all. I'm truly grateful to have such an amazing community by my side. Let's keep growing together and making this journey even more special. Red Heart.